things on the list that probably won't be
Noticeable?
reasonable.
Like
Yeah.
most of the things on the list?
Yeah, well, some of the things on the list anyway.
It's like the triad.
Oh, good.
The triad you can see, but the parts that, well, the parts of the triad you can see in part, but the deal with this one is that the stain that was used is not all that distinct. So what you've got is basically a slide where you can see multiple structures like this guy here. Going to scan around, you see kind of these lonely central core veins, right? There's a central vein right there. And then you can see if you got a decent, like on your slide, you can see this better than I can because of the way the projection is, but central vein in the middle, and you can see these kind of pools off to the edge of the central vein, like there, and there's another one up there, and another one kind of up there. And those guys are your triads. I'll get you a little closer to them so you can see them a little bit better, but the central vein is in the core, and then you've got this sort of hexagonal structure around the central vein, and then the sinusoids are the little spaces that are leading up to that central vein. So everything's draining this way. And so what you do with this is get a little closer on one of these. So I'm going to go to the central vein. See if I can't get this guy
That would
into
have been good to know before that last test.
Yeah,
reference.
it would have.
This guy. Okay, there's your central vein there. And so all of these little spaces, these cavities essentially around here, are going to be your sinusoids. So basically a sinusoid is just an open space, right? And then the vast majority of the cells that are lining the sinusoid should just be generic hepatocytes, so they shouldn't be that tricky. I don't think the stain they've used is going to do a good job with your Kupffer cells. So we were talking about it before, but I don't think that probably Kupffer cells would probably be reasonable on here. So I would leave the Kupffer cells off. They should have kind of a star-shaped appearance to them, but I really don't see what I would say is a confident Kupffer cell. If I go off to that edge where I was saying there was kind of a collection of what I was referring to before, like this thing right here, a little bit further out. First, get this structure right here. Okay, this thing is one of these triads, and people sometimes are a little bit unsure about which part of this is which. Generally speaking, the largest vessel in the triad should be what? No? Portal venule. So yeah, so you've got a venule.
Oh, because it's going backwards.
Yeah, so you've got a portal venule, you've got a portal arteriole, and you've got a bile duct. The venule and the arteriole, if you look at this guy a little closer. Back in position. Okay, there you go. Okay, so what you've got is basically the venule is the largest of these tubes, and then your arteriole and your bile duct. This is not going to be that distinct here, but the arteriole is like probably this structure right here, and the bile duct is going to have a very, very small luminal space if you've got a bile duct showing. But all I'm getting here for sure is the venule. The structure overall is definitely a triad, but I'm not going to say that, you know, other than the venule, I'm not going to say that this is what and this is what. So you could look at the whole thing and call it a triad. There's another one up here that I thought was a little better illustrations. Let me get up to that edge for a second. Right up here. Okay, like this guy. There's another triad, and typically the largest tube in the triad should be your venule. So I guess this guy right here. Your arteriole is going to be about the next smallest tube from there, and usually a thicker wall, so a much more distinct wall. Looks like it's this guy here. And then your bile duct is this guy. Looks like it's that guy right there. So you've got three prominent tubes there: the venule, the arteriole. It looks like it's this guy here, and then the bile duct there. But it would have to be a pretty, I guess, an awesome illustration to distinguish between the bile duct and the arteriole. So I would say probably if you got this as a triad and could make out the venule at least, it's probably reasonable to say the other two would be either the bile duct or the arteriole. But I don't think we're gonna be able to do much more than that with the level of detail here. So with the list, what you're probably gonna be missing, you've got the central vein, that's not an issue, you've got the triad, we don't see really the lymphatic vessel here, you've got the sinusoids, those are fair, you've got the hepatocytes, but we're probably missing the Kupffer cells, and we're probably missing a distinction between the hepatic artery branch and then the bile duct branch as being something distinct. So I would say those are probably fair not to be worrying about the distinction between those on this triad. We should definitely know that it's a triad, and that's not difficult, and you should definitely recognize which one of those is probably the venule. That's not too difficult either, so. Okay, so I'll leave that there, and last one I guess we'll be having time with